howdy, and welcome everybody to the Big and Bright Podcast. My name is Nick. This here next to me is James.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, we got me on a casual Friday today. Look at this. I don't have the jacket. I don't have. Oh man, I feel so
Look
naked.
like a slub.
I do. I look like a hobo, man. But
I naturally look like this.
yeah, you
just look like
always
trash.
look homeless. I dressed down today just to make you feel better.
Thanks.
This is a podcast
Thanks
we talk
for
about
taking my feelings into effect.
all things Texas, right? And which does not include feelings. Texans don't have feelings, as we all know, right?
Fair.
Except for people in Austin. But no, today we are going to talk about a lot of different things, not including my attire, because we're just going to let that slide. Again, I try to dress up for you people, but I totally failed today. We've got a lot of different things coming up down the pike. Like I said, we're going to be changing a lot of different things. One of the things, we're going to have a set change next week.
Yep.
We are next episode, right? I always say next week, and we are trying very hard to get content out as regularly as possible.
To be meeting next week.
Next episode, we will have a different set, though. That's going to be fun. Also, we have a Twitter.
We have a Twitter.
No, this is not a happy
At
thing.
Big and Bright 1.
This is not a happy
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's at Big and Bright Pod.
It's at Big and Bright Pod.
P-O-D.
It's at Big and Bright Pod. We are on Twitter now. Twitter is the devil. I'm just going to say that I absolutely did not consent to this, but it's happening anyway. We are on Twitter. And I'm
going to do my best to get us canceled.
I've been told that just like here, likes, follows, subscriptions, all of that stuff helps us here. That also helps us on Twitter. So if you guys like the podcast, if you want to continue doing what we're doing, then follow us on Twitter, comment, share, subscribe.
Please share.
This is the typical social media plea to please give us some more of your subscriptions. But that is about as far as I'm willing to take it. Do what you want to do, right? Texans are all about freedom. Do what you want to do. I really, I care, but not that much. Especially when it comes to Twitter. But guys, we really do appreciate you being with us, and we've got a lot of great stuff happening. There's also a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, and it is just becoming abundantly clear. And as for those of us who have not been doing this for very long, I have mad respect for people that do this as often as a lot of people do, because we live in a news cycle that just changes on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we were going to be talking about things when we discussed it last week, and all of that changed within a day.
Yep.
And then 3 days later, it changed again. There's so much stuff that's happening. And we figured, well, let's just keep it to Texas. That doesn't help, because Texas is in the news a ton, being the most important state / republic. We're in the news a bunch. But today specifically, now we're recording this on Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesday. It's Monday.
It is Monday.
It is Monday, right? It's Casual Monday, right? We're recording this on Monday, which means in 48 hours, in less than 48 hours, Texas
will be free.
We will be free, friends.
No more mask mandate.
From the face diapers. We will be free from locking down our businesses. We are going to open up our state. And that is a big sticking point. This actually showed up in the national news, right? This is something that people have been talking about.
Well, because we're Neanderthals.
On a national scale. Yeah, we are one of the Neanderthal states, which, by the way, if Neanderthals make money because they can open their businesses and they have the dignity to walk around and dress how they want to dress, then I will be a Neanderthal.
No, what's funny is I actually heard somebody say, so if the Neanderthals are opening up and the civilized are actually in the caves, how does that really work out?
No, it doesn't. But there's a lot of... It's important to say that while it's very clear that you and I are happy about the opening up...
Nick, no, you didn't mention when our beloved governor mentioned this amazing feat.
On Texas Independence
Day.
Yeah, on Texas Independence Day.
And we got an update.
Exactly.
As he said,
and
the news changes every 24 minutes.
And our governor was walked out on a Texas Independence Day. We will not go quietly into the night. We will not give up without a fight. And then he started doing that speech from that old movie. I forgot what it was called. But we are going to be free as of Wednesday. Now, it's clear that James and I have a specific opinion on this at this point.
I think I've been pretty good about hiding the ball.
You are not good at that at all. But we do want to appreciate the fact that there is another side to this, and there is nuance to this, and this is not a topic that is to be treated flamboyantly. We need to treat it delicately. I think that by the end of this, I will still be on the side of let's open up, let's do what we need to do, let's treat people like adults. But
let people make decisions. How dare you, Nick?
But people have concerns for a reason, and those reasons need to be acknowledged. That's what I'm going to say.
Fair enough.
So, what details do we know about this, James? You're the guy with the computer. What details do we know about Governor Abbott's announcement?
Governor Abbott's announcement, he rolls back quite a few of his executive orders. I'm so happy he listens to our podcast because it's the only reason why he would change his executive orders, obviously. There is a decline in hospitalizations. That was one of his claims of why he kind of had this idea to roll back quite a few. He does leave into place if there is a certain hot spot that does pop on in certain areas, then the judges can actually step back in, but they cannot actually do fines anymore. Fines or jails or anything like that. It's just we're going to put this in place. You're going to either abide or you're just not welcome to our company.
Yeah.
That's basically it. What was it? According to Texas Tribune, and from now on, I will try to post a few of these articles that I do cite into our description part of our page, just to kind of give you full transparency and let you look for yourself, because I'm not the be-all, end-all. You have your own opinion. Freedom. Choose your own. 8.1% of Texans have been fully vaccinated. That's with both shots. None of the vaccines, though, are approved for children under age 16 as a rule. There are, of course, exceptions to every rule. But as a rule, if you're under 16 years of age, you are not approved for the vaccine. And they make up about 23% of the population. So you have to take that into effect of how many people will get vaccinated.
Take that into account.
Yes. Hospitalizations have decreased. This is according to, actually, this morning. They have decreased about 975 since last week. 84 new deaths have been reported, but the number of total confirmed and probable cases in counties include backlogged cases. So we're not actually sure of when they happened or not to an exact T. We just know that they happened, but we don't know when they happened to being reported. So some can be reported this week that actually were a few months, just because when you get government involved, it typically does get slowed down. And what the DSHS has reported 162,428 to be exact backlog cases since August 17 for Texas.
Yeah. Well, with the apocalypse happening a couple of days
ago, the snowpocalypse.
Yeah, it seems like that those would be that would be a contributing factor to having backlogged cases.
Oh, that for vaccines, it is, yes.
But it seems like, it seems like this is the right time.
Correct.
Right. A lot of people saying, no, this is too early.
We're too late, actually.
The fact is that if you're going to shut it down, anytime you say, okay, we're opening it up now, right, we're stopping the shutdowns, you're always going to have some contingency of people that says, no, it's too early. It's too early. We shouldn't do it now.
Oh, the world's always on fire. You can't ever happen.
But you have to say, listen, if you're going to never open up, then that's a different conversation. But if you're going to open up, you're going to have to pick a time. And it's never going to feel good, right? It's never going to feel good from a health perspective. But
name one politician everybody agrees with that makes a decision.
Barack Obama.
Okay.
Well, hey, if you watch CNN, no, but so let me try and put it this way.
Okay.
There's when we were talking about, and you've just recently had a kid, and I've got a young child as well. We're talking about when is the right time to have a baby. What the answer is, there's never a right time to have a baby. You're never going to be like, yes, it is perfect. It's time to go right now. And so all these people say, well, it's too early. And I go, I just imagine that if we did this 6 months down the road, you would say, it was
well, the
too
thing
early
is, it's not too early. If you're still super duper terrified, just wear a mask. You're fine.
And
you're literally fine.
That's what's important to note, is that we're not outlawing masks.
No.
We're not outlawing. We're not saying that you have to open your businesses. We're just letting people.
If you want to open it to 100%, it's open.
And I'm going to say this. I don't think that life is going to change that much. No. Because right now, I wear a mask when I go to the grocery store because they require me to. And that's about it. I really don't wear a mask very much.
I kind of test them out.
At all. Yeah, sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll
literally have it in my pocket and just wait for someone to actually get some gestational fortitude and say, sir, you need to wear it. And I'll put it right on.
Yeah.
But hardly anyone ever does it.
occasionally my little protest is I walk in the door and I stand kind of in the doorway without a mask. I've got the mask in my hand and I just kind of look around, take a couple deep breaths, and slowly put it on my face, and then I begin to proceed in the establishment. That's sort of my little protest there. But I feel like
Such an activist, Nick.
the places that originally, I'm just going to ignore that, places that originally already have mask requirements, establishments, especially the big ones like Kroger and Walmart and that kind of stuff, are going to continue to have them. And the places that are going to let them go are already pretty lax about it anyway. So I'm not super concerned that life is going to change all that much after this release of the lockdowns goes into effect.
It's funny you mentioned Kroger because H-E-B actually apparently owns Kroger.
Mm-hmm.
They announced on Tuesday, when the announcement came through,
Yep.
that they will no longer have to wear a mask mandate starting March 10th. But days later, all right, we're going to keep the mask mandate in our stores because apparently a lot of people got PO'd and tweeted us a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Squishy.
Yeah, so you squished. Yeah, I get it. That's fine. That drives me nuts. But it's worth noting, and like I said, there are people that have suffered because of this disease. I'm fairly certain that you and I both know somebody who has died from COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not to be understated, right? We're not trying to say that those are not tragedies or that they don't matter. Every single death that happened as a result of this disease is a tragedy, and it needs to be treated with the utmost sympathy, and we need to have a perspective that includes that. But there's a broader picture here that we have to take into account. And so my prayer, I guess, is that for those of you who have suffered from this disease, or who know somebody that has suffered or died from this disease, that you don't think that we're saying that doesn't matter.
No.
And that's important because people's feelings do have to be considered when making arguments.
I thought you said feelings don't matter, Nick.
Well, not in Texas because Texans don't have feelings.
Okay.
But
sorry, I forgot.
The fact is that this was a massive tragedy that happened. Nobody here is saying that COVID is a hoax or that it's not real or that these deaths are not real people. Nobody here is saying that, James.
I never said it.
Okay, nobody here thinks that.
Oh,
and we're not going.
Hold on.
And we're not going to be pushing that out. But we have to take other things into consideration. One of the things that I talked about with actually my father-in-law, who suffered pretty heavily from COVID when he contracted the disease and had a pretty rough go of it. One thing that I said about him, I said, one thing that I've learned from this pandemic that I consider to be most valuable is this: there is more to life than staying alive.
Yeah.
There's more to life than staying alive.
I want to live.
Yeah, and that's an important thing. And it's not us being flippant about death. It's an important thing, which leads us to our big and bright idea of today.
Ooh.
What do we think about public health mandates in the state of Texas? What should the Texan perspective be on a public health mandate? Now, let's consider this. Public health is an important thing.
Correct.
Right? If we have something that could kill, as many people as we thought coronavirus could have killed in the early days. You remember the early days, they were talking about 2.5 million people dying, within a year.
Funny, they don't mention that stat anymore.
Yeah, well, that was the stat.
Mm-hmm.
And let me be very clear. If 2.5 million people had died from this disease, I would be singing a very different tune, because that is an absolutely catastrophic public health crisis at 2.5 million people. I mean, it's a big deal, right?
It's kind of a big deal.
As it stands, we just pass 500,000.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that's less of a big deal.
No, people still died.
But quantifiably, that's not the same thing as 2.5 million people dying in a year. It just isn't. And the measures that we need to take, the preventative measures that we need to take, need to reflect that. They need to change. They need to adapt as we learn more about this disease. And the other thing that's important to note is there's not a lot of evidence that masks are doing any sort of significant change in the transmission of this disease.
Makes you feel better.
It does, but we can look state by state, not even state by state, but we can look county by county, or if you'd like to go bigger, country by country. You can look at a lot of different countries that have very strict mask mandates and got destroyed by COVID-19. Italy is a great example.
Yep.
Right? The UK is a fairly good example. You can look state by state. Los
What
Angeles.
about Sweden?
Yeah. Sweden. Well, Sweden looked good at the beginning. So Sweden actually.
Oh yeah, we were rah-rahing for them.
Yeah.
Like, see, it's totally legit.
Yeah. Sweden locked down in the beginning, but they didn't have any lockdowns, and we were really excited that they looked like they were doing pretty well. And they kind of took a nosedive there towards.
I stopped reporting once it didn't actually back up exactly what I was arguing.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's not a bias, Nick. That's just being.
No, that's 100% a bias. But it looked. I mean, Sweden looked good for those of us in the libertarian crowd because their numbers weren't looking too bad, and then they kind of went down, and it was not so great. But you look at places like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a really strict mask mandate. Los Angeles is getting absolutely hammered with COVID-19
and with beer.
And yeah,
they got nothing else to do.
Yeah, for sure. And what we need to consider here is that there are other costs associated with the lockdowns.
Yeah.
And if you cannot make the case that lockdowns and masking are going to cause a significant decrease in the number of deaths, not necessarily the number of cases, but the number of deaths from this disease, unless you can make the case that that's going to happen, you need to take the other costs into consideration.
Well, that was the thing, Nick, because like whenever certain states or counties were very gung-ho about doing the mask mandate, and then some, even in Texas, said if you're outside in a certain area, you got to wear a mask anyways, even though you're outside. And then the cases kept going up. The response from the other teams, like, see, masks don't work. And the response back was, well, no one's just treating it seriously. Really?
Yeah.
Every time there was a hole in their whole logic, it was, well, no, this is not taking it seriously. All right, look at California. Really? You're going to tell me all of LA is all Republican and somehow not taking it seriously? No, they're taking it over the top serious. And it's still hitting them.
I, especially back at the beginning of this disease when we were still learning about what COVID was, I was very respectful of mask rules. Now, that's tapered off. Again, as you learn more information and you realize that you're probably not helping a lot of people by wearing this diaper on your face, my behavior did change. But initially, I was very compliant to mask mandates. I wanted to make sure that I was wearing a mask everywhere that I thought I needed to. I never wore a mask outside. No. And I'm going to tell you this. If you are wearing a mask outside, you look silly. You look absolutely ridiculous.
No, Nick, let them have their grandstand. Oh, no, you keep to your principles. I will look at you like you're from Mars.
You look like a tool.
Dude, I went to, there's this place near me. This is like trails and everything else. You can go like the huge trail area. And I was walking it with my dog. Very much in the sun, very much outside, very open area. There's no closed areas at all. Many people were still wearing masks. And I was looked at them going, what are you doing? And I saw some people that were running. They had their little masks of their gaiters, but they had them down here. I was like, oh, yeah, you started off all strong, didn't you? And you realized, I can't breathe.
I can't breathe wearing this mask.
Oh, how'd that grandstand work for you?
Oh, goodness gracious.
But I just want to go back to Texas here on this, Nick. For our ranking, when it comes to COVID deaths, granted, this is per 100,000.
Okay.
According to today, to the Becker Hospital Review, and again, I'll post a lot of these links that way you can look at it yourself. Yeah. This one's a very long link. Texas ranks 24th in deaths per our 51, because we have to count D.C. 51 states and D.C.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, we're right in the middle.
And we never really fully shut down. Like we said a couple episodes ago, we shut down for about a couple months.
Yeah.
You can only get stuff to go. All movie theaters, sorry about you. You ain't open. All bars, sorry about you. Unless you had some bars that were near me and they just weren't open. I'm here to get some popcorn and a whole 3 pitchers of beer.
Can I take the 3 pitchers of beer home with me?
That was a fun rule that actually changed in Texas.
Yep.
Abbott allowed us to get beer to go. That's never happened before. That was awesome. He's keeping that in.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the cons here, right?
Sorry.
Let's talk about the cons here. It's worth noting that you could walk to the bar from your house. So if you took your beer to go, you walked home with it most of the time, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
But is there any place for a public health mandate?
Yes.
Okay. And why are public health? Well, let's make the case for public health mandates just for a second. Why are they necessary?
Because people are too stupid to do it themselves.
I disagree. I think that's not. I don't think.
Well,
It's
that was
because,
all the experts were people like, y'all aren't doing it right, so let's just solve the problem for you.
I don't think it's because people are too stupid. I think it's because if people might not be fully informed as to the transmissibility of a disease.
Fair.
Now, this disease was not nearly as transmissible as we thought it was at the beginning. I can't remember at the beginning if it's either less deadly or less transmissible, and I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
Than we originally thought at the
They
beginning.
changed their
here.
story so many times. I can't keep
But
up.
if you have a situation where people aren't fully aware of how transmissible this thing is, how deadly it is, then sometimes you might need to say, hey, it's not a good idea to do X, Y, and Z. Let's shut this down until we know more about it.
No, that's when I pushed back on you when we were going through the Governor Abbott's executive orders in the beginning. You said we should have been open from this day. And I was like, well, that's 2020 hindsight. Of course, looking back on it, well, we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
But after we learned more and more, as Abbott did, by the way, very good political move to do it on Texas Independence Day. He knows what he's doing.
For sure.
To knock it out. Because we learned, all right, here we go. And if you are super duper scared, don't go to restaurants.
Go outside,
don't go out. Just stay in your home as you've been doing. No one is forcing you to immerse yourselves in this very deadly society.
Mm-hmm. But if nobody knows, if there is something that's deadly, like let's say that there was something out there that could have killed 2.5 million people in a year. Okay, that's really bad, and people might not know how bad this potentially could get. Mm-hmm. And so you need to have people coming in and saying, hey, hold on, we need to put a pause on some things. I think that is an important thing to do because, even if you want to go to, it's not in the Texas Constitution, but the United States Constitution preamble says that part of the government's job is to promote general welfare. I think the public health, right, the public health of the citizenry can fit into that box.
I think it makes sense to fit in that box, yeah.
Here's the thing. Public health mandates, and this is just my opinion, should not come from any level above the county.
No.
I think that your city should be putting out public health mandates, maybe your county, and maybe in really 5 million people are going to die in a week. Then we can talk about, hey, the states need to start imposing.
Right, and that was my whole issue when it comes to Fauci or anything along those experts, whatever. They just keep getting thrown expert like they actually earned it, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. Anyways, whenever they say something like, hey, this is what we need to do, and this would be the best way and the only way through my expertise of how we can handle this.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your expertise in this one little box. Mm-hmm. You are not taking the rest of it into effect because it makes sense. We just locked down, right? How we pay for stuff. America can't just shut down.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a question I should answer. You're right. You shouldn't have to answer it.
But we should have people that can.
But yeah, that means your answer can't be the only answer either because we have to generalize to see, well, how do we function? Because if we all drove cars at 3 miles per hour, we have a whole lot less wrecks. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that because it wouldn't be feasible.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the flu every single year, yet we never shut down for the flu.
We take calculated risk of our own mortality every single day.
Yeah, we drove on the highway today.
Yeah, we take that into account every single day. There's a very real, and this is what I meant when I said that there's more to life than staying alive.
Correct.
Right? There's very real and effective ways to make sure that everybody stays alive as long as they possibly could. It usually involves never leaving your house. And having, sterilizations done on your house on a regular basis. And it involves living...
like an old cartoon Shut In?
Yeah, it involves living a life that isn't worth living. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's happening now. It isn't. But what I'm saying is if the biggest principle is staying alive, then there's a lot of things that we should just not do.
Yeah.
Right? If the most important thing about life is continuing to go to another day... there's a really easy way to do that, but that life isn't worth. We don't think that life is worth living because again,
take some risk.
Because again, there's more to life than just staying alive. Yeah. So we take calculated risks every single day as it pertains to our quality of life and as it pertains to us being social animals that we sort of subconsciously just do. We take the risk and we make that judgment and we move forward with the activity.
Right, and that's what I was saying about for Fauci, like. He should be, here's the facts on the ground. Like you were saying, here's the facts on the ground as we know them. Mm-hmm. Based on those facts, you the state, actually the county, should be making these decisions, whatever that is. Top down, I'm not a fan, never have been a fan. I don't even care if I like it. I don't like it just because once you tell me what to do, I'm immediately just going to go the other way because I hate it. But that was the whole debacle with Andrew Cuomo and DeSantis. Same information.
Yeah.
Yet DeSantis said, I'm going to go with this one because Korea has handled it the semi-form that I've done it. I'm just going to do it this way.
Yeah.
Cuomo went completely opposite. And he's number, and according to that list I was mentioning earlier, he's number 2.
He's number 2. Part of that is because you took people out of hospitals and put them back into nursing homes.
Whoa, Nick, we haven't verified that. There's still a lot of credible people that say otherwise that may or may not be talking heads.
We haven't verified that. We haven't verified. Let me be very clear, guys. If you live in New York, get the heck out of there while that guy. You have a psychopath as a governor.
If he allows you to leave.
You have an absolute psycho as a governor. Anybody that tells me, and again, there are those states out there that have this sort of state pride, right? I think Texas has the most, but there are people from California that are proud to be from California. I don't know why.
Whatever.
New York, Chicago, right? The regional pride does exist. Yeah, regional pride does exist in other areas, specifically in New York. Y'all need to quit that, man, because New York, I would not be proud. I would not be proud to be from New York in this moment.
Well, I just can't wrap my head around New York City. Like I'm just this person that does not like being in a city, which is exactly what New York City's New York is. Yeah. I could not imagine just living on top of each other, just in huge mass sardine buckets. No, I just can't do it.
And part of that is, New York City is the fact that everybody's living on top of each other is a big deal for certain. But New York City was like a ghost town. They shut that down real quick.
Unless there was a protest.
Yeah, unless there was a protest, or they also didn't shut the subways down for.
They didn't clean them.
They didn't clean the subways.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months in, and he does this little prop. Like Andrew Cuomo's like, "Look, I'm cleaning and I care about society." Dude, you were 2 or 3 months in. You're just now sanitizing, and that's the first time he's done it in years.
Oh, good gracious! I would not be proud to be from New York right now, guys. It's just that's a mess. It's a whole big mess. And now they're trying to get him on the sexual harassment charges.
That's a farce. You're showing a different shiny thing. No, we care about this other one. Shut up.
Sorry.
Hopefully these women are actually true and he gets thrown the book at him. But I really care about that COVID thing because you're diverting all the attention over here.
It's like Andrew Cuomo gave an unwanted kiss. Bad.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo killed thousands of old people.
Worse.
Significantly worse, right? But, okay, so we've talked about public health is an important thing, right?
Correct.
And we need to have guidance from the higher levels, right?
Not mandates from the higher levels.
Yes, have guidance, but not mandates from the higher levels. The mandates need to kick in, like I said, probably at the highest, the county level.
Correct.
But guidance is fine. If the CDC wants to put out guidance, that is totally okay. I get it. The more information that we have, the better when it comes to this. Disease.
Just seems like CDC keeps getting more and more political, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. According to the CDC, we should all be shut down until 2023 potentially. And that's. I'm sorry.
Shut down the CDC. How about that?
I'm sorry. That's not going to happen. If the CDC would like to shut down, they are more than welcome to.
No, it's different. We're abstaining. We're not a part of that rule.
I will say you need to make sure that you're letting people be adults. You can give them the information, and information is good. Like I just said, more information is always better. But as far as how those decisions, how we make decisions based on that information, that's our business.
Right. Even when it came to Trump, when he was doing those everyday little pressers, I liked some of what he said, and I didn't like some other things he said. Because for me, I would just tell me the basic facts. How many cases are there? What are we doing? Are there any states or any counties that are overrun? How can we help those overrun people? What are you doing to help those overrun people? All right. The whole question, when do you think it should end? Nope, stop. That's a dumb question. Next question. This is it. No, I just want to hear what it is and let me, the state, based off what we know as a national level, what we can do.
Yeah.
That's it.
For certain.
After the rest of it is all fodder, and he went so long-winded when it comes to those things.
So let's talk about the critique that the mayor of Austin, I forgot the mayor of Austin's name.
Adler?
Adler, yes. I'm sorry, that's how little I care about Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what Adler said, Adler's critique was that this was irresponsible on a mask level. Now, Adler was a little bit more sympathetic, and I want to kind of entertain this because he was a little bit more sympathetic to the idea of opening businesses. He says he understood that businesses needed to open. There is a very real economic case to the fact that a lot of businesses are going to shut down if they can't open. If
Mom
they
and
can't
pop
open for
shops
another
are closing
year.
their doors forever.
Mom and pop
It's
shops
terrible.
are not going to make it. We have this lady who runs a little cafe right next to where James lives and where I used to live.
Yeah.
Who I'm not entirely sure she's still in business.
They are.
They are.
Yeah, I went there the other day. Still amazing breakfast
She's
foods.
hanging on by a thread, and these are people's livelihoods that are at stake, right? So Adler was a little bit more true Texas Democrat. He's like, okay, I get it. Business is right. He's willing. He's willing to grant the.
He's
premise
only also
of
doing this
business.
because he got his butt called out from being in Mexico, saying not to travel.
Yeah, for sure. But he was less sympathetic about the masks.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the masks for a second. Is it reasonable to say that the masks? Listen, it's not that big of a deal. Even if they don't work, it's not that big of a deal to wear a mask when you go outside or wear a mask when you go into an establishment. Is that a big deal? What's the case against masks?
I look undignified wearing this stupid mask, Nick. I don't have to have a scientific based reason. I don't have to say, well, your science doesn't do this. This looks stupid.
It does. It does look stupid. But
It also smells like my pocket. I haven't washed this in months, but no one cares. As long as you wear your little pretty piece of mask over here, you can be welcome to any establishment.
Okay, but you're talking about aesthetics here again, right? You don't like the way that you look. That almost seems
Get
like
outta here. I don't
that
know
almost
what.
seems like a pretty vain argument.
Yeah.
Is that a vain argument?
So what?
Okay. I think there's a better case to make than just I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's my rights.
Isn't it though?
It is. And I'm not saying that's a bad argument. I'm saying it's not a terribly tactful argument. Let's just put it that way.
From a politician standpoint, it may
that
not
way.
be, yeah.
From a politician standpoint, but again, if we're talking about public health, and there are people out there that do believe that masks save lives, and I think that's because that there's been a lot of information put out there that is over-exaggerated or isn't necessarily true.
Well, to be fair, on their point, there
regard to
are studies that back up that argument. There also are studies that say the otherwise.
That say that they
So,
don't
I mean, it's just
work,
like which scientists you want to believe, but they're not necessarily wrong either way.
There are people that believe that masks are out there saving lives. And if they believe that, I want to give as much weight and as much credit to my side as possible in order to sort of counterbalance their fear.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about masks. It is important to see people's faces. And I know that this sounds really strange, but it is important to make sure that I can see somebody smile. Right? It is important to make sure that I can make contact with these people.
Non-verbal communication is much more than actual verbal communication.
It is a big deal. And there's also, and again, you talk about dignity. There is a certain dignity to looking somebody in their face, right? The other thing that's a big problem is that there's another epidemic that's going on that's I think is a lot stronger than COVID-19. And it's an epidemic of fear. When you walk outside and you see everybody wearing a mask, you believe that there is a chance that you could die, and you see it, right? You are given common cause to not trust each other. People that cannot look people in their face, or feel like or see these masks, which are a symbol of literally, it's almost like a symbol of medical leprosy.
Yeah.
When you see someone wearing a mask, you are telling that person subconsciously, "Don't come near me. I could be sick."
I mean, think about the child standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
All the world's ending. Oh, don't touch your friends. Don't shake hands. Don't hug. Don't anything. Do not be social. You think a child is handling that well? I can't imagine the scars these children are going to have after having to wear
adults.
masks.
I mean, adults the same way. You're telling people visually. You're telling people, don't trust me.
Yeah. Okay. This is the
Don't
weirdest
trust
thing.
people.
When I walked my dog, because everything was shut down, like I said, for the first couple months. When I was walking my dog, the weirdest thing to me that I thought was it just shifted my whole mindset of like, what the heck's going on? I'd be walking down a concrete path in my apartment complex. Someone would be coming the other way. They would cross the road and then keep going around. I was like, it's so weird. It's like you can't just walk by me. We're not going to be slapping hands or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big walkway. How about you walk on that side, this side? They would just walk on the other side. It's almost like that old little stories about how someone's being a racist, they see someone a different color than them, and they go to the opposite side because they can't even be on the same side of the street of that person because they're so small-minded and think they're different or they're bad because of their race. No,
We're isolating each other.
It to me it blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it.
Doesn't lead to good public mental health.
No,
that there's a real issue with that, and I don't think we're going to see the consequences of that as evidently right now. But if we continue these mask mandates and everyone wears masks every time they go outside, we will see it eventually. Isolating people, even when they're outside in a crowd, is never a good idea.
No.
So, friends, I think at the end of the day, we're happy that our state will be free.
Freedom!
In 48 days, or in 48 hours, sorry. And that we will attempt to make steps towards healing and steps towards normalcy in the great state of Texas, which is why Texas is the greatest state
country
in these wonderful United States. Those of you who say New York, y'all need to get your heads checked. You all need to come down to Texas and live in the great free air that is the Lone Star State.
Freedom.
All right, let's talk about our 3 hot takes, friends. All right, guys, 3 hot takes. Topic the first.
Dr. Seuss minimized.
Topic the second.
Social media showdown by Abbott.
Right on. Topic the third.
Whiskey tariffs.
I do love whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's move on to first topic. Dr. Seuss. Guys, for those of you that had a childhood, it's about to go down the toilet. Dr. Seuss books are no more. They've been made illegal.
All of them?
All of them.
Oh, yeah?
They're all illegal.
That's not what my facts say.
That's not what your notes say. This isn't about facts. It's about how I feel.
So we're back to those feelings.
Back to those feelings that I don't have, yeah. No, Dr. Seuss has come under some hot water for being racist.
Let's throw that word around.
Super racist, Dr. Seuss.
All right, okay, so what really happened, Nick?
Well, star-bellied Sneetches were clearly staging a genocide against the people of Whoville. And I don't know how that wasn't evident for the 100 years that Dr. Seuss has been in circulation, but that's a problem, guys.
Yeah.
No, the issue here is that there are certain books that Dr. Seuss has published that we believe, or that certain people believe,
at least Dr. Seuss Enterprises,
believe have racist depictions of certain ethnic peoples.
Yeah.
The books are, I know that it's...
Can you list them off?
Cat's Quizzer is one of them, I know.
Yeah.
If I Ran the Zoo.
Uh-huh.
I think I saw it on Mulberry Street.
Uh-huh.
McGilligot's Pool.
Uh-huh.
And...
Two more. It's okay.
On
Beyond Zebra.
On Beyond Zebra. And I don't know the other
Scrambled
one.
Eggs Super.
Which is not Green Eggs and Ham.
No.
I really thought it was that Green Eggs and Ham was one of them. And I was like, what? What are we talking about?
It's racist against green eggs.
Against Sam. People named Sam.
Sam and Ham.
To be honest with you, apart from If I Ran the Zoo and To Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which I think I've read one time, I haven't read any of the other ones.
No. All right. Let's move to the what it's actually about, okay?
They're older books.
They are very much older books. Mm-hmm. According to this is a New York Times article, the announcement seemed to drive a surge of support for Seuss classics. Dozens of his books shot to the top of Amazon's print bestseller list on Thursday morning. 9 of the site's top 10 bestsellers were Seuss books. So,
I bet.
It's almost like the potato head thing again. We take away a little bit, but everybody else starts buying it again.
Gosh, yeah, you're not kidding.
But no, they got rid of those. They got rid of them. And in this article for New York Times, again, I'm going to post some of these. The classic children's books are bestsellers, an important revenue stream for publishers. Last year, more than 338,000 copies of Green Eggs and Ham were sold in the U.S. And One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish sold more than 311,000 copies. And guess what? Oh, the places you'll go, the staple graduation present, that sold about 513,000 copies. In their defense for Dr. Seuss Enterprises, and this is a very thin defense, but in their defense,
okay.
And To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which was one of the 6 books pulled, sold about 5,000 copies last year. McGellett's Pool and the Cat's Quizzer haven't sold a single book in years through retailers on book scan tracks. So they took out a book out of circulation that already wasn't selling.
No, it wasn't selling anything. Okay.
But they get to look good and woke because they got rid of them.
Yeah.
There was this co-owner of Hickleby's bookstore in San Jose, California. She wasn't too comfortable with this, though. She said that I think there's something when there's something in a book you find offensive, this is a great teaching opportunity. And we have a choice whether to buy it or not, but removing it kind of makes me want to shake my head. And I'm with her on that.
Yeah.
It's let people learn from it, because I've seen through certain people who are very irritated still because they're trying to just dig up stuff because there's nothing really going on. They want to get rid of Huckleberry Finn for the obvious because it has the N-word.
Yep.
The whole point of the book is to show how stupid it is to use that word instead of Mr.
Mm-hmm.
N-word Jim, Mr. Jim, because he's a person.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. It's like, you see how dumb you sound? Just read it. Don't hear it in context. Just read the words. And it's like, that's pretty stupid. Yeah, that's the whole freaking point.
And so these books didn't sell very much. And
No.
as you said, that this might be a marketing ploy a la Mr. Potato Head.
Well, it's also done by Dr. Seuss Enterprises themselves.
And if that's what they're doing, if we find out later, like maybe a couple months go by and they're like, hey, we're just going to secretly put these back on circulation. We got this massive spike. Honestly, good on you, Dr. Seuss Enterprises.
It's so easy to play the woke, though, so I don't blame them.
Ooh, that is that is a juicy sales tactic. So I congratulate you. If you are taking these books out of circulation because you actually find them offensive, then shame. Absolute shame on everybody that works at Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Shame. If I had a bell, I would ring it. That's ridiculous.
No, what was funny is that whenever they stopped saying, we're not going to do it, curiously, by the way, on Dr. Seuss's birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They said they weren't going to sell them or weren't going to put them in circulation anymore. And the people who did have them were selling them on eBay and Amazon for like $1,800 a pop.
For like thousands of dollars. Yeah, of course they would, right?
So I started texting my mom. I was like, do you have all these old Doctor books? I don't care that much about these books. I don't really remember reading them. But if we have them, let's make some money.
Yeah, my mother-in-law works at she takes care of children for a living. She works at a daycare center. I'm like, she's probably got some Dr. Seuss books. Let's rock and roll. Let's do this. But it is never, ever, ever a good idea to burn books.
No. And this is what it is. This is a book burning. It's a digital book burning.
It is never a good idea.
Just because there's no fire in the middle of the street and you see all these dumb people throwing a book in there because it offended them. It's the same thing in digital. That's why digital age is kind of scary because you can just like delete and no one notices.
It's never a good idea to take information out of circulation. It wasn't a good idea when the Nazis did it. It wasn't a good idea when the Catholic Church did it. It was not a good idea when Amazon started doing it with Abigail Schreier's book and it was Tim Aker,
I can't remember his name.
When it
and it was when Harry became Sally.
When Harry became Sally, it wasn't a good idea to take it down then. It's not a good idea now.
It's funny
never
you mentioned
a good idea to
Nick.
remove literature from circulation.
According to the New York Post, there is the New York Public Library, very much not right side of the aisle. Mm-hmm. New York Public Library will keep the 6 controversial, see how well this is written, 6 controversial Dr. Seuss books on the shelves despite this week's decision to cease their publication due to racist imagery. The librarian, or the spokeswoman of the library, Angela Montefinis, can't say her name, I'm sorry, I butchered it. As with all public libraries in the public library does not censor books. In this case, the 6 titles in question are being pulled out of print by Dr. Seuss Enterprises. So the very few copies we do have of these titles will continue to circulate until they are no longer acceptable in condition. So you're keeping them in circulation until they're too worn to be read or they're falling apart, just like every library does. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
And good for you guys.
Yeah, good for you. Because it's a set. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wrote many books. It's a set. Mm-hmm. You can't have Harry Potter 1 through 6 and say, like, well, 7's offensive. That's the whole point of the set. Granted, these were not a trilogy or these were not a story to build on each other, but that's his whole entire works. Yeah. And you take him as is.
And for those of you guys who are offended, and by the way, I would be 100%, I would bet a year of my salary,
All
that
$10.
that you cannot find one person, that if we went back in time 5 years ago, we could not find a person who was offended or became a Nazi because they read a Dr. Seuss book. Not one person. In fact, 2 of those books people weren't reading anyway, apparently, because they weren't
buying
selling.
them.
Right? But
they're super offensive, Nick. We got to stop it.
Nobody ever picked up a copy of If I Ran the Zoo and decided to hate the Asian world as a result, because there's offensive depictions of Asian people in there. The fact is, Dr. Seuss wrote books back in the 1930s. There was a different perspective.
I remember seeing an article saying that he had pretty hateful political cartoons. He depicted Japanese people in a certain way, and I was like, right, when were those drawn? From 1941 to 43. Do you want to take a guess of what America was doing at that time
as it pertains to Japan?
Maybe there was a war going on. Was it politically correct? No, but I'm kind of sure when you're fighting against the people in a war, you're going to show them in a bad light.
And is that always the best thing to do? No, it's not. It's not a good thing to be racist towards people like that.
No, it's the same thing with a knee-jerk reaction. That was his version of a knee-jerk reaction.
But it's a cartoon. You're making a cartoon of a person that has a certain ethnic persuasion. Those features are going to be exaggerated. That's how cartoons work.
Let's say, Pocahontas is pretty stereotypical.
Are we going to have a character there will be no caricature artists at carnivals anymore because they depict people racist.
I mean, if we're really starting to worry about stereotypes in cartoons, all cartoons should just be stick figures. You don't know
sure.
what color they are. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't draw them in a black pencil because then they're obviously black.
Right?
So that's just racist.
Every cartoon needs to be The Simpsons. They all just need to be. We all need
just
to be
yellow,
like bright
except for Krusty
yellow
the Clown.
people.
He's the white supremacist the entire show.
Maybe I didn't even think about it, but
I made you think. How about that? First time for everything.
We've got to stop this. And people say, well, it has dangerous ideas. Guys, ideas aren't dangerous. And if ideas can be dangerous. But if ideas are dangerous, the way that you fight back is with better ideas. More information, more ideas circulating is better than less ideas circulating, because then if you come across dangerous ideology, that's the only thing you have.
The best way to counteract bad speech is more speech.
Is with good speech, right? And so, yes, this is a good learning opportunity. But here's the thing. Dr. Seuss is an absolute classic of children's literature and of American literature in general. The man is a hero. The man's an icon.
Yep.
And you're taking him down because there's certain sensibilities of certain people, most of which I will bet you are not Asian, by the way, or black, or of minority descent at all. These people are being loud and they're complaining on that awful platform that we just became a part of.
Like and subscribe.
Exactly. They're complaining on all this stuff and they're taking down parts of our childhood that were meaningful. It was a meaningful thing. They shaped generations of people in the United States, and we're now claiming that is bad because some people just can't keep their emotions in check. And I'm trying to find delicate ways of talking about these individuals.
You should have heard them 10 minutes ago. It was not family friendly.
We should not be bowing to these people's will, especially when it comes to cutting out literature. You're almost never the good guy when you're burning books.
No.
It's just not a good idea. It's not a good look.
You can justify it all you want to. It's never good.
I'm going to have an aneurysm. Topic the second. Go on to the second
Number
topic.
2. Abbott's social media showdown. Let's get ready to rumble, baby.
Let's do it. Abbott,
according to the Texas Tribune.
You're going to wheel in Abbott into the Thunderdome on his wheelchair.
That's right, baby. He's going to kill you.
Let's do it.
He's going to have if you ever seen the movie Wild Wild West?
Yes.
The bad general of the movie, he just
Kenneth
pushes
Branagh's character.
He pushes that button, has those guns shooting. That's what he's going to be stacked to the teeth.
By the way, go back and watch Wild Wild West. That's Kenneth Branagh, the dude in the what's it called?
The wheelchair?
The dude in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
That's Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's such a weird experience.
Anyways, the governor has backed a bill to stop social media companies from banning texts for political views. This is called Senate Bill 12. This would prohibit social media companies from blocking, banning, demonetizing, or otherwise discriminating against a user based on their viewpoint or their location within Texas. This is backed by a state senator named Brian Hughes from Mineola, who is a Republican, just be thorough. He has stated that this legislation would only apply to political and religious speech.
Okay. So, for those of us that don't speak legalese, Justice James, tell us what this is saying.
this is saying that Texas is taking a stand against big tech political censorship.
Yes.
That's all it is. For instance, the whole theory of this, again, this is not a bill that's been passed. This is just backed. So take it as is. What they're saying is if you get taken off Twitter or whatever it may be, and that reason happens to be political or religious, and whatever you say about it, even if it's the wrong political, but you could be just some communist manifesto and you're just tweeting about all the great things about communism, and they take you off, which they probably wouldn't. Mm-hmm. That would be a violation of this bill.
Yep.
And it would allow you to take these big O companies into the courts. Well, some would say, well, maybe you broke one of their guidelines, and they gave that reason. This bill would force them to, right, which guideline? No. You can't just hide behind this vague thing that you changed yesterday to reflect the reason you wanted to ban me today. Which guideline? And it would force them to actually have to go on the record to say which.
I think that should just be the standard, though, is that you should be able to say, these are our guidelines, you are going to be kicked off for X, Y, and Z, and not at sort of the discretion of whoever seems to be having their finger on the button at the time. I am 100% for. I mean, obviously, you and I run a podcast in the state of Texas that could be seen as controversial by certain individuals. So 100% I'm for these sorts of protections so that we can't get thrown off of YouTube.
Right, and there's a spokesperson that said, like, that because Twitter, of course, was like, well, come on, what's the real deal here? And the spokesperson, Renee Easy, said if they were truly concerned about posts inciting violence, because that's always been the claim, then it counts for people like the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and Nicolas Maduro would have been banned years ago. They retorted, well, we've deleted some of their accounts that have been linked to them. Right, some. There's also one person like, well, this person said something really rude. It happened to be a Democrat, and we made her take down that tweet. Right. Take down a tweet. You didn't ban her for this one tweet like you have been for other people.
You're not going to ban the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Really? That's some of the Ayatollah stuff is literally inciting violence.
Yeah. Jews are bad. I don't see what the problem here. That's a pretty good tweet.
Israel, it'd be nice if Israel wasn't a thing anymore.
That's not anti-Semitic. Yeah. That's just fodder. Okay, but anyways, Scott Powell, there's a professor at the University of Texas School of Law. He has stated that from the First Amendment perspective, social media companies are a private actor and aren't subject to the First Amendment. Fair. So it's a matter of constitutional law that they can be biased as much as they want to in any direction they choose. I imagine there's a fancy lawyer out there saying, oh, I can make a commerce clause. If you attach anything to commerce clause, anything to commerce clause, in the aggregate, it would show like, well, if everybody was doing this, that's a lot of money being lost.
When people are making their livelihood on these platforms, that's a different issue. That's a separate issue.
And the thing is, are you receiving any kind of tax dollars? Are you receiving anything or any kind of monetization from this state at all? Like you just said, if I'm on that platform making money and that's my money, you received some money, didn't you?
Yeah,
which means you're receiving tax dollars and must comply with the Constitution. So, I mean...
Here's the thing: if this bill goes through, there's going to be something glorious because I'm assuming this only applies to people that are operating within Texas, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something glorious about looking at Zuckerberg and tipping a cowboy hat and giving him the finger, being like, "I'm from Texas, you can't touch me."
Yeah.
Right.
I will put this size 14 up your rear end,
That's right.
boy.
You have that Texas protection. You have that protection. That was a terrible pun. I should never have said that. As I said those words, they came out of my mouth.
Next time we have an episode, Nick will not be here.
As I said those words, they came out of my mouth, and that's bad. No, but we have that Texas protection, this concept of, listen, you can't come after me because my state is going to stand up for me. And that's awesome. I think that's fantastic, right? The fact that Texas is standing up for the people who are the creators. They're standing up for their business people. They're standing up for those who are wanting, like we said again, more speech, more ideas out in the area. That's who government is.
My whole thing is let the arguments flow. Unless it actually threatens violence, and some have been shown that, take them down. I'm totally with you. But if their arguments are just dumb and they're misinformation, as you like to claim, then who cares? Let people knock it down bit by bit. Yeah, point number 1, that's dumb. Here's why. Here's an article. Read that, come back to me. Number 2, that's stupid based on this article. Just let them take it down. Like, I don't know, A debate?
Yeah.
What? You allow people to find their own ideas and figure it out themselves? How dare I?
We used to have those, and then we tried to do it in 2020 with Trump and Biden.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't a debate, man. They might as well just stood on the stage and threw pies at each other or something.
Might as well.
It was not good. Anyway, so all that aside, one thing that I will say about this is this could actually, and as I'm thinking about it, this could actually be a bigger deal for social media companies than just Texas, because there are a lot of people that make cases or that make content that live in Texas. A lot, and a lot of these people have the ability to sue companies like YouTube and Spotify.
And I mean, if it's a brand new bill and it actually gets passed, by the way, they're hearing about it today in the State Affairs Committee. But just think about you're that first one. Oh, a lot of lawyers go, I'll do this pro bono. I'm going to make a heck of a name for myself. Here we go.
On contingency.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The thing about it is though, is that there's a lot of these people. And so you're talking about a massive amount of lawsuits that could come at these companies really quickly. And if you do that, you could be delivering a massive blow to some of these giant multinational companies.
Yeah. They're letting themselves be the gatekeepers. And I get it. Yeah, it's your creation. But from the same argument, because there's some on the other side say, well, I thought you were all for just market regulating. It's like, well, markets to an extent. But those same people saying they can do whatever they want are the same people typically saying, why does this CEO make a lot of money? That's unfair to the regular work. Well, I thought the company can make whatever decisions it wanted to. So you're kind of, again, split the baby every single time.
You have a monopoly case, I think, for a lot of these companies. And also, it is foolish to say that these are entirely private companies at this point.
Yeah.
They work very
Facebook
closely.
It has an ownership in all of it. Like, all of them essentially have a piece of each other. It's
They and this kind of conglomerate works very closely with the federal government. And so you are talking about,
it got Trump kicked off, didn't it?
You are talking about governments coordinating with these companies. So it's getting to look less and less private. And by the way, someone who's all for private enterprise, right? I'm very, very much in support of private companies being able to do what they want. These companies are looking far less private by the day. And
well, it's funny. Under this proposal, here's like the actual court thing. I'm sorry I didn't read this earlier. Under the proposal, a person who feels they've been wrongly barred from a platform can file a claim in court. Feelings again. The Texas Attorney General can also bring a claim on a person's behalf if a social media company fails to comply. The bill stipulates that the court can impose a daily penalty sufficient to secure immediate compliance. So we're just going to rack up some fees.
There you go. And I really feel like this will be a massive punch at the social media companies. And not only that,
it'll take them down a peg. That's all. You're not get out of here.
And legal precedent is a funny thing. That's another important thing that we need to understand is that if these cases are being made in Texas, I understand that these laws only apply to Texas, and this legal precedent only legally speaking applies to Texas. But other states see that.
Right, but think about it. If I'm getting kicked off, I'm just going to create a new email and a new thing, and I'm moving to Texas. If I'm making money off this, I'm just going to move to Texas.
Which, by the way, bring it on. Bring your money here.
Bring your money here. We're happy to have it. Keep your politics from a blue state back in that blue state.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're leaving.
Yep.
But if they come here and do that, we could be the new Silicon Valley. I highly doubt it, but it's fun to think about.
But you see appellate courts and other state courts seeing these decisions and sort of following along in that. So it's not actual legal precedent, but this legal suggestion could really spiral and do something pretty negative for the social media companies.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I feel so
super
bad.
worried for them.
I feel so bad.
They're going to have to spend 2% of their money that they have.
I feel so bad for Jack Dorsey that we just joined his platform. So,
thanks.
Good gracious.
All right, let's go to number 3.
Thank you, Jack. Number 3.
Whiskey tariffs.
Oh, boy.
I
love this, man. I love me some whiskey. You a whiskey fan?
I'm a whiskey fan.
What kind of whiskey you drink?
That's my personal information.
Okay, fine. I'll share what.
That's one of my security. That's one of my security questions. I don't want to put that out there.
I'll share what kind of whiskey I drink. Love me some Balcones, made right here in the great state of Texas, down in the city of Waco. Balcones whiskey. Props to you guys. You make a very good product. What What else do I like? Love me some Scotch. Big on Scotch. Like the Lagavulin, the Islays. Bruichladdich is a good product as well. Macallan is always a nice choice.
All right, so after those plugs, if you can please fund our podcast, it'd be fantastic.
We'd love a sponsorship, guys. That'd be fantastic.
I would love to have that sponsorship.
Dude, Balcone sponsorship, I'd be all about it. Y'all give me a call. Y'all give me a call.
Anyways, according to Reason.com, this is in a joint statement. The American and British government said they would use the 4-month suspension of tariffs as an opportunity to ease the burden on industry and take a bold joint step towards resolving a long-running dispute over subsidies for airplane manufacturers. For some background, this conflict goes back to the Bush administration. Okay. Came to head during the Trump years, and basically it was a tariff on European cultural goods, including Scotch whiskey and French cheeses, in response to what the U.S. saw at the time as unfair European Union subsidies for Airbus, which is a European airplane manufacturer. But if you didn't know, I'll put this up to you, Nick. Where is Scotch made?
I'm going to guess Scotland.
You are correct.
I am.
You don't win anything, but you're correct. The United Kingdom is no longer a part of the European Union.
Yep.
If you didn't know, Brexit happened.
Yes, it did.
In January, the British government
Salute to you, Britain.
announced that it was lifting retaliatory tariffs on American goods imposed as part of the Airbus dispute. But while Scotch distillers and American drinkers might cheer the removal of the U.S. tariffs, our whiskey overseas will still be subject to 25% tariffs. But I don't care.
Wait a minute. So wait, hold on.
We're lifting theirs,
and they're keeping the 25%.
They're keeping it in.
Europe, you get your act together. That's garbage. That's unbelievable.
What'd you expect?
I expected better from you.
Really?
Miserable.
Wow.
Miserable.
You
folks.
give them way too much credit.
Goodness. Okay.
Anyway,
so
so American whiskey exports to UK have fallen 53% as a result of the tariffs. So we're not selling as much.
Yeah.
And we cost distillers about $75 million in sales.
That's fine. We'll drink it here. We're not selling to you guys anymore.
I'm about to go. It launched today.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a liquor store and buy up all they have.
Oh, yeah.
With all the money I don't have.
With Scotch. Well, okay, so here's the thing about it. And again, I asked you, so you don't want to talk about what specific brands of whiskey you like, right?
Correct.
What kind of whiskey do you like?
Bourbon.
You like bourbon.
I like bourbon
so
and Scotch.
I like bourbon too. I'm a bourbon and Scotch guy myself, although there are some nice Irish whiskeys if you're in the right mood.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm a bourbon and Scotch guy primarily. Now, for the bourbon, this doesn't affect us at all. Because
bourbon stays the same.
Bourbon stays the same because bourbon doesn't have any tariffs because bourbon has to be made in the United States.
That's why
it legally has to be. It's not bourbon if it's not. It's kind of like champagne, right?
Yeah, champagne has to be made in Champagne.
Has to be made in Champagne. Bourbon is not bourbon unless it's made in the United States.
Correct.
So for us bourbon drinkers, not much is going to change. We're going to get our Wild Turkey for cheap. We're going to get our we're going to
Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, all the gut, all
the rot gut nastiness. Gut. You know what? Jim Beam and Jack Daniels have their place, and it's in a Jack and Coke, and it's inside a Coke.
I don't mind Jim,
but those sorts of things aren't going to be affected at all. But the Scotch, that's a big one because guys, in the United States, Scotch costs an arm and a leg.
Oh my gosh,
it costs a ton.
There's a bottle we like, and that's around $100, $105. Mm-hmm. And if this tariff is gone, it can make it around $80. Mm-hmm. I'm down to buy it for $80. It's still not cheap, but that's good. That's a good chunk of change.
I'd like to see how full Specs is today. If we show up at Specs, line out the door,
like a mile line. It's like, all right, come on, guys.
I love Scotch whiskey. I've always been a big fan of it, and this I gotta say, this is a great thing. And tariffs in general, just I don't like.
But from a country's perspective, like for instance, America in the beginning had a tariff on here's a bullet point: hats. A simple little top hat or hat everybody wore. Mm-hmm. Okay, the American one to make it in America cost around $2. The one from England, much better material, cost about $1. Mm-hmm. Well, America in the beginning is like, well, we have to be a country. We can't just keep buying from other countries. They're just going to cut us off, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
They put a tariff on the British one, so now it costs $3.
But
Encourage
nowadays,
you to buy the American one.
in the modern market, you're not really doing that. You're just passing that tariff on to the consumer.
Correct. Yeah.
And when you're talking about, and this is the thing, is when you're talking about things like whiskey, excuse me, good gracious, when you're talking about things like whiskey, which have to be made in a region, we cannot make an alternative to Scotch.
No.
Because it has to be made in Scotland.
Has to be made in Scotland.
By the same token, they cannot make an alternative to bourbon, right? They can make their own style and make it like bourbon, but it's not bourbon. And so when you're tariffing that, you're doing nothing but passing that on to the consumer.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not going to not sell it, and we're not going to not buy it. It's too valuable of a commodity over here. I mean, there's so many people that love to drink Scotch, and there's so many people that like to drink Irish whiskey. Something a little wrong with them, but they do like it.
We're trying to get more followers, Nick.
You can't get that from elsewhere. Not those kind of followers. You can't get that, you can't get that from elsewhere, and so putting a tariff on it is you're just raising the price of it.
But hey, it's a small window. Only got 4 months, so buy it up now.
Which is weird. Why? Why are they doing? Why are they?
It's a way that European Union is doing, or sorry, not the European Union. The UK now is doing this in a show of good faith to try to get negotiations started with Biden administration. Now, if Biden doesn't do anything, they rack it right back up, and in that same turn, they'll rack ours up from 25 to 50%. So we'll sell a whole lot less over there if there's no deal to be made.
Wow.
So
whiskey
Biden
drinkers
want to make a deal?
Yeah, whiskey drinkers and whiskey companies. The fate of your ability to purchase products and to sell products rests on the shoulders of the Joe Biden foreign policy.
Good luck.
Yeah, luck to you.
Let's hope he actually knows what's going on that day.
That being said, I love whiskey and I want it to be cheaper, so this is a good thing. And you're right, I'm going to gobble up as much as I can in the next 4 months.
I think it's probably good it's not cheaper, though. I think that's what leads to alcoholism.
Yeah.
And if it was $1, that would not be good.
This is an interesting thing, right? Because I've spoken with a lot of people who do suffer from alcoholism, right? And I've talked to, they said, hey, I can't drink this because I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to, or there's people that...
I'm glad they've gotten help. That's amazing.
Or I have people that think that they might become an alcoholic. And I say, there's one surefire way to never become an alcoholic.
What's
and they
that?
say, what? Drink expensive stuff. So you can't afford to be an alcoholic.
No, 1 glass is fine tonight, all right? That sucker was $200 a bottle. Like you bought some Johnny Walker Blue.
Well,
give me, no, not 1 finger. Give me that half finger because it is way too expensive.
And by the way, if you guys are going to spend $45 a shot, do it on something that ain't Johnny Walker Blue. Johnny Walker Blue is at best, that's
Jerry Jones' drink.
It's good, okay? I'm not saying it's bad. It's a quality, but it's a blended scotch. There are so many better single malts out there that by the way, don't cost $45 a shot and don't cost $250 a bottle.
Nick, you have a booger because you're just sticking your nose up so much at me right now. I can see all the boogers in your nose.
Hey, there's some quality Speyside and Islays out there that will absolutely knock the socks off a Johnny Walker Blue label, and I will bet my reputation on that, as low as it may be. I'll bet it.
That's not hard.
That ain't hard. But the world will always, if they raise those taxes, if they raise those tariffs, then the rest of the world is just not going to be able to appreciate the sweet elixir that is bourbon. Texas bourbon, right? Alabama bourbon. Clyde May's Alabama bourbon is fantastic, right?
So you do like something from Alabama?
Yeah, I like something from Alabama, but
just not the Tide.
Yeah, you know where Clyde May's is based out of?
No,
Auburn.
Oh!
Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. I don't know, but Lord, that would be great if it was.
I'm hoping that is true. Google now.
Oh man, it's fine. I'm a big Alabama fan. I really like University of Alabama Birmingham. Go Blazers! All right. This is getting out of hand. You got any closing thoughts?
I do not have any closing thoughts besides buy up all of the scotch as long as you don't live in my area because then it make me mad because then I can't buy scotch.
Yeah, now buy up the scotch in your area because it's going down, baby. And we're fighting back against social media and 48 hours to freedom, baby.
Woo!
48 hours until the dawn rises. It's dark now.
Hallelujah.
But the stars at night, friends, are big and bright. We'll see you next time.